All right, so this one is going to be actually pretty interesting. I took a little peek. I did. I took a little peek at journal entry 4, and it is long. Of course, I didn't read it, but I just looked over and I'm like, wow, this one is pretty darn long. So it looks like it's going to be interesting. Also, got a couple of stories I want to go over. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right in. So today's date that I am recording this is going to be May 6th, 2024. Yes, that is a bit of a distance from the prior recording, but then again, this is going to be broadcasted in June. So, you know, for me, it's been a couple of weeks. For you, it's just been a couple of hours. So, leading up to this, while it's still fresh on the brain, um, I actually got two things that I want to go over. My car broke down yesterday. So that's been interesting. Having to deal with that is yet one more thing I've been having to deal with in the last 6 months or so. Luckily, I have coverage and everything. So, yeah, I got to pay out of pocket for some things, but I'm going to get reimbursed for all of it. Um, so, I do have to pick up my other vehicle today. So, lucky me. And, it was a bit of a nuisance. Took some days off of work because of it. It actually broke down on a Sunday. So my service wasn't available on Sunday because apparently they're not available on the weekends, which is interesting for roadside service or at least a repair service. But it is what it is. So another thing that I have to go over aside from that incident that occurred, um, just funny little story that just now just happened, so it's fresh on the mind. So I'm just gonna go ahead and jump straight into story time. So it is 10:30 p.m. and I am doing my nightly walk. I haven't gotten into jogging quite yet. I jog from a little time to time, but just to get some fresh air, it tends to kind of clear my head. So I do these night jogs and slash walks from time to time. So I'm outside. I'm just minding my business, walking around the complex. And then I see a guy going to his car. Big guy. Looks like he's going in his trunk or something. I can tell he's like talking to somebody. And then as I get closer, it's very obvious. Oh, he's arguing with somebody. So as I'm walking by, you know how it is when you're trying to mind your own business and you see someone's arguing or something. I don't see who he was arguing. I didn't see who he was arguing with until later on, like a couple seconds later. So it kind of looked like he was just talking to himself real angrily, but I could tell like his elevated voice. Um, he was yelling, and I was like, okay, is he arguing with somebody here or on the phone or? And then up, uh, I kind of saw a woman up on the top floor, which is like 3 stories. So on the third level of their building, and as I'm walking by, he kind of looks my way, and he's like, um, his words, quote, "This bitch wants to argue because I wouldn't get her a corn dog." End quote. I shit you not. That's what he said. in my direction because he saw me walking and I'm trying to mind my own business. I ain't trying to get in nobody else's business. I'm not all like that. And you know how it is, like, he's in the heat of the moment, he's in his emotions and all that stuff. He's arguing with his chick and whatnot. And I'm just kind of like, okay, I see y'all doing that thing. And I'm just trying to walk by and he's trying to, it's one of those uncomfortable positions. And he's like, this bitch wants to argue because I ain't get her a corn dog. Now, I didn't know the circumstances of their argument, but now I see. Now, he was about 300, 350. He was a big boy. Big boy. Um, she wasn't too far off. I looked up. She looked like she probably pushing 250 her damn self. So two fat people arguing. That's pretty much what I saw. A fat couple, or I don't know if he was the dude that just came through or whatever. He's trying to chill. He's trying to get some, and I guess she was pushing up on him for a damn corn dog. And when he said no, she was she got a little upset because he wouldn't get her that corn dog, probably from Cookout. Oh boy, people. That's one thing I don't have to deal with. So, in light of my situation, that's one situation I don't have to deal with. I don't got to argue with anybody. There's no one for me to argue with. So, good for me. That's one good thing. It's one less thing I have to deal with. And it is sometimes like that with ladies. You gotta, I'm sorry, ladies, but I gotta put the shade out there. Y'all argue over some stupid shit sometimes, some little petty dumb shit. But then again, I kind of get why y'all do it. That's one of your ways of. That's the one of the reasons. You remember how I talk about how women, you know, it's our job to fix problems, and it's a woman's job, or it's one of her tasks, or I can't even really say it like that because it's just one of the y'all prerogative to talk about the problems or bring up the problems, not to fix them. That's on us, but y'all just want to bring up the problems. So her problem in that situation was she wanted a corn dog, and he wasn't willing to fix that problem. So that's interesting. Now, Now, for the time that I myself have been waiting on, it's time for another journal entry. Remember, I don't open these journal entries until I do these videos. So I do kind of look forward to seeing what we got here. So let's see what we got here as I open it up. As I dive into it, I put it on the big screen. Oh yeah, it's a couple paragraphs. God, this is gonna take a while. All right. Well, I guess it's time for me to go ahead and let me move this screen my way. There we go. All right, time for me to go ahead and dive right into this thing. All right. Journal entry 4. The plan. I made a plan today. I am going to map my relationship with my wife. It seems her years of gaslighting have severely skewed what she remembers from our relationship, including the chronological order of things. I recall a prior argument we had a few years ago, and she blamed her activities at one part of our relationship on something that happened years later. LOL, laughing emoji. Yes, I'm just going to go ahead and say what's in the. Yeah, that's in there. All right, continuing on with journal entry 4. There needs to be an order to it. So when we do the therapy, it is based on something tangible and we can make some real progress figuring out where and why things went so sideways. She has yet to tell me. She has always skirted around the major issues of our relationship and blames it on me all too often. Her go to is that, quote, I make her feel pressured, end quote. Or, quote, it doesn't matter what she says because I don't listen or dispute it, end quote. Oftentimes, what she says isn't factual nor accurate. Any attempt I make to correct it, even with recorded evidence, she then attempts to end the argument to prevent any progress. This is the cycle. Every time, I hope to end that cycle. She asked me what I was expecting from therapy. I know why. Okay, this is a typo. I know why she asked. I don't know why this is typed this wrong. Yeah, apparently something happened when I was typing this. But continuing, I know why she asked. She thinks I'm going to use the therapist as a mediator to finally pin her to actually tell the truth about our past. She knows I have proof of the accounts and prior to going in, she wants to make sure she isn't getting into something that may backfire. She is partially correct. I told her I wasn't trying. I'm so sorry. This is why. You know what? Let me get my reading glasses. Give me 1 second. Let me get my freaking reading glasses. Okay, I'm gonna restart that over from the beginning of this paragraph. She asked me what I was expecting from therapy. I know why she asked. She thinks I'm going to use the therapist as a mediator to finally pin her to actually tell me to actually tell the truth about our past. She knows I have proof of the accounts, and prior to going in, she wants to make sure she isn't getting into something that may backfire. She is partially correct. I told her I want to try to make things better so we can move on with our relationship. That is true. I also don't want her guards up too much so she can try and coach her responses to the questions I want answered. I know better than to tip her off. It's sad I have to do that. The fact she asked me in that manner says a lot about her intentions. I also noticed, sorry, there's a typo here too. Like I said, this is my first time rereading this stuff, y'all. Bear with me. The fact she asked me in that manner says a lot about her intentions. I also noticed that on the browser she had, Jesus Christ. I'm so sorry. There's a lot of typos here. She had where were to some Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. Yeah, there's a lot of typo. I must have been in a rush when I typed this stuff. I also noticed that on the browser she had where were to some domestic violence website and was looking up gaslighting and abusive relationships. She really is treating this like a trial, preparing and studying for what may occur. I'm surprised by her actions. It makes me wonder if my paranoid suspicions may actually be true. She has been trying to manipulate and control me all along. She got pregnant on purpose to trap me. She has always lied and gaslighted anything I do or say that may shed light on her troubles or if it's something that doesn't serve her. Does she really have an agenda? I know she prolonged therapy last year, so much that we got married Jesus Christ, is this another married workout outlet? What the fuck is going on here? I must have did this shit on my phone. All right, another typo here. It's supposed to be without. I know she prolonged therapy last year so much that we got married without therapy. That was part of my original plan to get individual and couples therapy prior to marriage. I had been hassling her for months to do her therapy at my expense. She drug her feet for as long as she could until I made it clear She had to at least do the individual therapy. We could plan to do the couples therapy after the marriage. She obliged then finally. But was it just her laziness or procrastination, or did she plan that intentionally in an effort to get around the couples therapy? Or did she plan that intentionally to get in an effort to get around the couples therapy? That's how it's read. I don't know what she does in personal therapy, but I will know during couples therapy. Is she really hiding more than I know? I got a question mark and an exclamation mark. I know she. Oh, sorry. Fuck. That's in place. Now I have worries as to what she plans during our sessions. She is literally doing research. Ironically, one of the methods recommended to combat gaslighting was to keep a journal. I started this journal because I thought I should record the process as soon as the problem was recognized, and we plan to finally start up couples therapy. There's another typo there, that's why I had to pause. I thought I should. Yeah, I think that should be gone. Problem was recognized and we plan first. However, she is doing research. Is she planning to try and say I have been gaslighting her? I have several accounts where she clearly skews reality by saying stuff that never happened. Star, star, star. So I don't know if this is separated or if it's a different topic. Well, let's continue. The one moment I can recall was when she was trying to tell me she had told me something to do, and she was completely convinced she told me. When I told her she never did, she got belligerent and went into her quotations, you never listen, dot, 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 end quotations, rant that she always goes into when I try to dispute something she is getting wrong. I wasn't trying to argue, but clearly she was. I guess she thought the louder she got, the more right and certain I would take her. There was one fatal flaw, however. Over the past 5 years, I had pinpointed a rhythm of our troubles. She would in fact recreate past occurrences in an attempt to make them favor whatever point or narrative she would try to push upon me. As any logical person would, I did everything I could to keep a record of any and all major occurrences and communication for and communication. For years, I have recommended she use Google Calendars to keep track of things, and she can share it with me when she has something coming up. I also suggest that she text me if she needs to tell me to do something important or remind me of something. Finally, I suggest we record our arguments to ensure that what is said can be properly interpreted on replay if need be. She was keeping a journal at the time. I suggested most of this stuff, but I was not really aware of its benefits until now. She was against all of that. So everything I had tried to use to prove how she gaslights our discussions and arguments, how she manipulates prior engagements and occurrences, etc., she would not do any of it. She still doesn't use Google Calendars despite me constantly suggesting it. This way, I never know what she has planned and never can recall any upcoming events she mentions verbally. She rarely uses text to remind me of things or important events. She always insists on telling me things verbally or call me. She also makes some effort to do so while I am busy doing something else or working. Never during a dedicated conversation between us, both which I try to do on a weekly basis, if not daily. She even stopped keeping her journal. She is also against recording our arguments. In fact, while in the middle of an argument, if I were to pull out my phone to record, she ends it there. I have literally done everything I can to keep a detailed record of any and all shared information to prevent gaslighting. Manipulation events and remembering important things. She has literally made a clear effort to combat that, to be a ghost with no record of anything. Back to the fatal flaw of the occurrence at hand. She stated something that finally put her in a pickle. She claims to have texted it to me. That's in quotations. Now I am aware of how delusion works with people that lie too often. Apparently, during the argument on whether or not she did tell me that she was claiming, can't remember, this is in brackets, can't remember what it was, but might have been a chore like washing dishes. In comment, in brackets. She convinced herself she sent me a text message for the task she is claiming to have told me. I smirked a bit since I know she was fabricating the ordeal and could finally prove what I have been trying to get on record for years now, that she fabricates falsehoods during arguments and disagreements. I asked her to show me the text on her phone as I had none on mine. She scrolled up and down and instantly got quiet with a dumbfounded face. She had finally realized the prior 20 plus minutes of her trying to argue with me, trying to gaslight me about something she had fabricated in her own mind, that she told me that I was correct. Then, I then used that moment to prove what I had been saying for years is true. She, of course, did what she always does when the conversation isn't working in her favor and sought to make an exit. I can't recall if she apologized or not for her behavior towards me. I finally had a situation I could prove I wasn't the crazy one. Problem now is, I'm not sure if she recalls this very situation or not. Now we're at the end of the journal. I am not suicidal. I love my daughter. And my wife may be a spy. And that's the end of journal number 3. So I actually do recall this. I recall this situation very well, actually. Ironically, it does tie into that argument. That was unintentional, by the way, but this does tie into that argument situation I was talking about before. So my wife, or soon to be, well, at this moment in time, ex-wife, like many women, and this is unanimous with all guys. For some reason, women just love arguing. So she likes to argue, like most women. And oftentimes in an argument, what tends to happen is women, that part about her getting louder, making it seem like just because she gets louder makes her sound more right. That's actually something that I find with most, if not all, women. Actually, y'all all like to get loud and belligerent because y'all cause a scene. Um, One of the things that I abide by is not arguing with women because y'all always try to get people emotional. Y'all say shit to intentionally, mind you, intentionally to insult people and get them to respond or react to something you've said or done. Um, often, very often during this time, a very ostentatious behavior. So that's why I've taken upon myself. I'm like, yeah, I don't argue with women, period, for that reason. We can have a discussion, we can have a talk, just like in this situation, all the situations up beyond this point. Now, this situation that I recalled during this journal entry actually happened a couple years ago. So right now it's 2024. This situation I'm recalling probably happened in 2019, 2018, roughly. I believe it's before my daughter was born, however. I think it was. It was sometime in that period. But I do recall this situation that I'm talking about. Um, the gaslighting was just ridiculous. Now, the other thing that I found interesting was I talk about the therapy. I did want to do the couples therapy and everything. I wanted to do it all before we got married. I had set a deadline for myself and everything. We would do it by a certain point. Um, she was not making any efforts to try to do it. I let her pick the therapist. There's actually a funny story about that. I don't know if I talk about it in my next journal entry, but the couples therapy never happened. It actually fell through. Um, she intentionally sabotaged that. So funny story there. It's supposed to be like the week before the therapy, and usually you get like little updates and stuff from the therapist. I let her pick the therapist because, like I said, I didn't want to be like, okay, I'm cornering her. None of that. I didn't want none of that to come back on me. I'm like, hey, this is us, talking. Hey, you can go pick the therapist. I was very, I was letting her do all that to pick the therapist herself because I didn't want to make her seem like I went and picked somebody that I liked and would be on my side. I didn't want none of that to happen. I just wanted a therapist. I was like, "Hey, you go pick the therapist you want. Fine. I don't care. Just do it just so we can get it done." So of course she drug her feet. The deadline came up. I was like, "Okay, before we get married, at least do the individual therapy, okay?" Because I think what it was, I was trying to do something for before the end of the year. I wanted to go ahead and lock things up for the end of the year because we could save some money because I could put her on my benefits and everything like that, which come to find out she didn't do what she said she was gonna, which what I told her to do at that point. So it ended up being a whole wash. Like we literally just could have never got married and nothing would have changed actually. So that's actually one of the upsetting things about this whole thing. I set the deadline. We're supposed to do it so we can fulfill some obligations and get things out the way so we can financially move forward. And she didn't even do her part. So I ended up marrying this woman, and she never did any of the part that she said she did, and that's the fucked up thing about it. So, the funny little thing at the end, I think my wife may be a spy. That's just a pun. That's part of my dark humor. But because she's been lying so much and covering shit up so much, I just thought I'd put that in there for shits and giggles. But I back to the therapy part. I let her do all that, and leading up to the week, we have I actually had 2, maybe 3 laptops, and she would use my laptop from time to time. Actually, I think I gave one to her for her to use before I got her a new one. And I noticed, sometimes when you're logged into to Google, my Google account is on there. Because remember, she has access, to my devices. That's how far I will let things go. So when I talk about, the whole looking at text message and stuff, like she has access to my shit too. She had access on my devices. She can go through my emails. Hell, she can go through my damn banking information, which now I'm thinking about it, I gave her a little too much access to be honest. But she used my laptop. She had access to all my shit. But you know how when you use Google search, when you go into the Google search and then like stuff pops up that you looked up prior, and I remember one day I opened up the Google and then I saw like when I clicked on the little browser thing and I saw like these weird searches, popping up, and I'm like, what the hell? I wasn't looking up gaslighting and abuse hotlines and websites and shit like that. And then I would look at the search history because now, like, I'm like, okay, when did somebody go there? And I had seen that week leading up to now, mind you, we had it booked. She booked it like 3-4 months in advance. She picked somebody, she confirmed it with me. I saw the little emails or something like that for a consultation. I'm like, okay, cool. Um, it was the week or 2 weeks prior to, and she was like doing research on like, yeah, because I was telling her like, hey, like, I'm thinking like this. You keep trying to making stuff up, and I think I had mentioned the gaslighting thing during because, like I said, she started another argument, and I had mentioned like, okay, you're kind of gaslighting right now. So I probably mentioned that in the argument because that's what she does. And she went and looked it up, and it wasn't just the gaslighting thing. It was like she went through the whole abuse website. She went through a couple of forums where they're talking about spousal abuse, financial abuse. Because one of the things I had did was we had went to see, and this is where it gets a little dark. But I got in touch with a CPA. So a lot of our financial goals, it wasn't just me. Like to show that I was serious, that I knew what the fuck I was talking about, I went and got a fiduciary. I went and got a fucking fiduciary, a CPA, to help us go through our books. And pretty much me and the CPA were sitting there having an intellectual conversation because I knew what the fuck I was talking about. I was talking about the different strategies and stuff we were going to go through. And she was just there, listening to the whole thing. I knew what the fuck I was talking about. CPA, could be like, yeah, that's right. Okay, cool. And we made a plan. We both sat there on the little video call with the CPA. made a plan, sent in our information, all of our expenses and everything. Of course, there was a lot that I discovered on her side when it comes to her debts and her spending habits, mind you. And she wasn't happy about that. And I wanted access to see exactly what this. Now, mind you, it wasn't just me because the CPA asked for this stuff. But when I saw she had a bunch of expenses, and I'm like, okay, where are you spending your money? Like, where's this coming from? Now, mine is this is on credit cards. And at this time, I had already told her like, hey, we need to use the credit cards like a charge card. So you use it, you pay it off, just like I was using my cards to like pay for bills. You get the little cash back, and then you just pay it right off with your checking account, right? That's how you're supposed to do. That's how you build your credit. Mind you, we're supposed to be getting a house that she wanted. She wanted to go get a house. I didn't really give a shit about buying a house because I already knew it wasn't favorable. But because she wanted that, I was like, okay, cool. I'm putting us. That's really one of the reasons why I put this financial plan in motion. Hey, this is the plan. This is what we're gonna do. I went and got a fucking CPA. She didn't know it at the time, but I had already talked to some real estate agents as well, but she didn't know that. But yeah, I went and got the CPA. So, and like I said, we have put a plan together. That's what we were doing. We found some. She was spending her money in places, and I'm like, okay, that's not part of the plan. She had racked up some charges. She wasn't paying her credit card bills for some reason, which that's one of the weird things with women. It's like you run up a credit card and it's like you don't pay the damn thing. I'm like, okay, that's not, of course. And then you wonder why women have like 2-3 times the debt that the guys have, mind you. And I'm talking about like consumer debt, credit card debt. So I'm like, okay, there's some financial troubles here. This CPA agreed, and I'm like, okay, we need to work on that. But it's interesting. The reason why I bring that up is because in that search that I saw, she went to some of these forums, and the subject of the forum was financial abuse. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I saw in the Google search, and she had typed in the Google search like, my spouse wants to see my credit cards, and it's like, is this abuse or some shit like that? And she was looking up forums, and of course, you got a bunch of bitter old women that probably had terrible spending habits themselves. And I guess their men or their husbands were like, okay, they restricted them on certain purchases and stuff. Listen, y'all, this is her cards. I can't prevent her from spending money on what she wants to do. But what I will not do is I won't be the one footing the bill. So I had no control whatsoever over her finances at all. None. Now the caveat to that is I for damn sure I'm not gonna go buy this goddamn house my damn self. No, she ain't earned that. I know that for damn sure. If she thought that my money was gonna go into footing this big ass bill and then she can go spend her money on whatever, nope, not that's not how this is gonna work. Not at all. You gonna be a working woman. I didn't sign up for that, especially not at that moment in time, and especially not because of the circumstances of our relationship. She lost quite a few benefits. One of those benefits being monogamy. So she lost that years ago. So she might try and tell some sob story. And then another reason, when I thought about that first part where I was talking about putting our relationship in order because there's this thing that she keeps doing. Now back in the early days, of course she tries to. I don't know why women do this shit. I don't know what it is like with y'all. Like y'all so egotistical with this shit. But it's like if I'm dealing with chicks, I don't mind dealing with you. We're cool. But don't sit up here and make it seem like I was the thirsty motherfucker that wanted us to get into a relationship. So when I first met her, we were cool. We were kicking it. Everything was going good. It eventually turned into like a friends with benefit situation. She started catching some feelings, and how she worded it at first. Now this is pertinent for a reason. I'm going to tell you why. But this goes into like showing like, okay, she was digging me. She tried to pressure me into getting into a monogamous relationship. Not boyfriend girlfriend, but it was kind of weird how I could tell what she was doing. But I think I talked about this in a prior broadcast too. But the way she worded it, she was like, because we had started having sex at this moment, she was like, "Okay, I only have sex with one person, and I would like it if you do the same." And I'm like, "Blah blah 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 blah." Now, mind you, that's monogamy, folks. That's monogamy. So she wasn't saying she wanted to be my girlfriend on that like that. She was trying to word it like, "Okay, when I'm dealing with one person, I only want to have sex with one person." Blah 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 blah. And I was like, "Okay, cool. You do that." Now, mind you, I don't like sleeping around with a bunch of people anyway, my damn self. But I was like, okay, if you don't, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, only have sex with me. You do that. Now, there wasn't nobody else that I was actively having sex with at the time, but I was gonna make it very clear, like, yeah, if you want a relationship, you can ask the proper way, but don't think I'm not gonna walk my own dumb ass into some unfavorable monogamous relationship because I know how women get when you're in a monogamous relationship. Y'all get very, very entitled. So that's why I typically just don't fuck with y'all like that. I'm like, hey, we're gonna fuck around. Like, cool. We ain't married. Yeah, monogamy. That's for marriage. Like, yeah, I don't know about outside of that. Yeah, we're dating, but I keep my options open. Now, the reason why I worded that way, and of course, she caught feelings, and eventually we agreed. Now, I'm not gonna act like she didn't want to. She definitely didn't want to pursue it, but we eventually agreed to getting to official relationship. Now, here's my perspective on that. When we first got into a relationship, because remember what I said, I know how women are when y'all get in a monogamous relationship. That's when y'all start showing your ass and all that stuff. So I was like, hey, and the only way to combat that as a guy, now mind you, this was like 18-year-old me. I was already aware of this. So this was 18-year-old me back in 2010. So I was already aware of this is how women are. So young me, I was like, hey, do I know you want to get in this whole relationship. Now, this is while she was talking about wanting to get in a relationship. I was like, okay. I was feeling her at the time too, but I already kind of knew like, I already know if we get into a relationship, we're too, like, I was like 18, she was like 19 at the time. I was like, I already know we're young. I really am digging this chick. I like how things are going as is, but I already know if we get into an actual monogamous relationship, I already know that somebody's going to cheat. Uh uh uh. Before y'all sit up here and trying to say that your boy right here is gonna, oh, no, 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 no. Remember how I said I know how women are? I know how young women are. Yeah, I had already seen this dynamic. So I already knew that the likelihood, the chances would be if we got into an actual monogamous relationship, chances now I have no problem with monogamy, especially if mine, if all my stuff is getting taken care of. And yes, I do have a high sex drive, but hey, if that's getting taken care of, I'm good. I know it's different for women. So I wasn't going to be the one to cheat. I already knew if anyone was going to cheat in our relationship, it would actually be her. And if that were to occur in a agreed upon monogamous relationship, it would change our relationship forever. So initially, I offered, hey, I know you want to do this thing. I don't mind calling you my girl. I don't mind, claiming you and all that stuff. But, I think it would be a good idea for us to keep it open, you know, because I know how women are. So, and I knew, like, as long as I keep my shit open, she can't be acting all belligerent crazy. If she just started to act that way, then guess what? I got other options, right? So it would keep her in check. But she wasn't going for that. And she was like, no, I really do want to be the monogamy and all that, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, okay, fine. We sat down, we agreed upon it. Cool. We're now in a monogamous relationship. I think it was like 2 years after that, she cheated on me. So after the first instance, I just found text messages and she was acting funny. And then it happened again, found more text messages. This time it was a little more serious. It was actual sexting. But at that time, it didn't matter because after the first incident, things changed forever. And this is why I have to say this. We were in a monogamous relationship for 2 years. After I found her texting some guy, calling him boo and all that bullshit, Then that was when I essentially was like, "Yeah, you lost your right to monogamy. We're no longer in a monogamous relationship. And if we are and mind you, I was a little too lean. I should just cut it off there. But I was a little too lenient because remember, I was feeling this girl. It was so fucking stupid. I don't know why she was texting this guy. She don't know why she was texting. I don't fucking. It was a weird situation. She got some random text message from a guy who was a wrong number, and I don't fucking know. I really don't fucking know. But for whatever reason, I was like, yeah, because of this, yeah, no more monogamy for you. Now, I kept my options open, and you don't have to believe my words. I actually have this in writing. I actually have this in writing. I actually made it. This is how savage I was as a young one. I have an actual contract that I wrote up for that relationship just so I can get in writing. Yeah, this is how things are. Just so like later on or at some later date she can't say that, "Oh my god, see he was cheating." Oh no, 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 no. I put this shit in writing. I have it dated. I had her sign it. I said, "Yeah, you will be monogamous to me. You will not be taking on any other whatever from any other guys, and I'll keep my options open." That's li it wasn't now, it didn't say that verbatim, but that was pretty much the gist of the contract. It said, "Yeah, you won't be sexting, texting, or doing any sexual acts with any other guys, and I'll keep my options open." That's essentially what the contract said. Um, I'll probably post it on the channel just to show, but I might post it, after this broadcast goes off. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of our relationship after that point. This was probably like 2012, around that time, 2012, 2013. Now, remember, this happened in that order. She stepped out and started texting this guy. I think it was after maybe 6 months to a year after that, then I found out she was sexting like 2 or 3 other guys at that point, and I'm pretty sure she had already did some things with some other guy, I just couldn't prove it. So, after that point, I was like, "Yeah," then I started taking it serious. Now, beforehand, I was just flirting with chicks, I wasn't really doing anything. But after the second incident, of course, I didn't have any actual evidence that she went to go meet up with these guys yet. But I was like, "Yeah, mm." Then I started of course, I got on her. I let her know that I found out. Then I was like, yeah, now I'm gonna actually exercise my options now. So then that's when I've started dealing with one or two other chicks at the time. Um, and then of course there was the final incident that happened, and I actually caught her lying to me. She claimed she was over her so-called best friend's house, whom she is still friends with today. Ironically, they're both going through a divorce and becoming single moms, by the way. But, she lied and said she was over her house. She just so happened to have a phone that I gave to her with the software that I have on it, that I still have on all my devices, by the way, and it has GPS. So I was able to see in real time while I was on the phone with her. She said, "Hey, I was like, it was like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I was like, "Hey, where you at?" I think we were supposed to do a movie night, and I had lost track of time because I was playing video games or something at the time. And I was like, "Hey, where you at? Like, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. Where the fuck are you? You're supposed to be back for movie night." And, she was like, "Oh, I'm over my friend's house. I'm sorry, I lost track of time, whatever bullshit." And I was like, something just didn't seem right. And I looked at the GPS and she was not at her friend's house. I knew exactly where her friend's house was, and she was like on the other side of town. I was like, "No, you aren't." I was like, "Where are you?" And then she could tell on the phone, she's like, What do you mean?" And she kinda got in that weird voice thing, and I was like, "You're not at your friend's house, where are you?" Now I guess she probably didn't know if I had followed her or something like that, but, no, that wasn't the case. I was just looking at the damn GPS on the phone that she had. So I was like, "No, I got you at this location." And I said exactly where she was, and I was like, "So where are you?" And then that's when she came clean and she told me where she was, who she was with, and that's when I was like, "Yeah." Just the same way I'm talking on this microphone is the same way I literally broke up with her. I was like, "Yeah, we're done. So, have fun with old boy, and, bye." And I pretty much just just left it like that on the phone. I really did do that. I'm a bit of a savage now I think about it. Young me was actually a savage. And the reason why I was able to do that because remember I kept my options open, so I actually was able to drop her off, and then immediately after that, I don't know if it was that night or the night after, but immediately after that, I had some company over, and I was like, "Yeah, bye." So that's why it's important to keep your options open because you can drop them and then you can just move on with your life. You don't got to worry about the sob stories because chances are she's got her guys. They all women have some back pocket dude, some beta orbiting. They all do, all of them. So that's why of course, and she did not cut off her guy friends, by the way. So that's why even in marriage, our situation was the way it was. Okay, you're not gonna cut off your beta orbiting guy friends. Okay, cool. I reserve my right to have a side chick. In future, I had to meet some I had to I had to meet some goals first before that occurs. But aside from that, the reason why I tell that story is because going back to that situation, she tries to claim that she was doing what she was doing with the texting the other guys and the cheating and all that stuff was because she assumed, and this was actually what she said at the time. At the time when I caught her, she assumed this is what she said. She assumed that I was cheating. Now, this is the first time I caught her. She assumed that I was cheating, therefore, that's why she did what she did. Now, mind you, I was not cheating. There was nothing that there was nothing in it that would even make her assume that I was cheating at all because she was always over my place all the time. So much so that her friends would joke about her actually living with me, which to be honest, she actually did because she was literally over my place damn near every night, right? So that was her reasoning for it. It was a stupid reason, which is why I was like, yeah, if we're gonna continue this relationship, I'm keeping my damn options open because that's just fucking stupid. So, and then the second time I caught her, she claims to have seen some text messages with some other chick. Now, mind you, I didn't exercise my options until after the second time, right, folks? Because remember, I was flirting here and there, but I didn't actually begin to exercise my options until after the second time I caught her sexting and texting other guys, right? So that's where that whole her confusing her well, I'm not even gonna say confusing because she's not I don't think she's confused. She knows exactly what she's doing. So her mixing up the timeline, that's why that's why I'm putting it in this journal and that's what I'm talking about. So she tried to say the first time, she just tried to say, oh, she just assumed I was cheating the first time. Okay. No evidence, no nothing. Then the second time she tried to claim as we talked about it later on. So that means after I caught her the second time, when we tried to talk about it, then she tried to claim that well she saw me texting some other girl, so therefore that's when she went off. Now, mind you, she still had the obligation to be monogamous to me. I already told her like, yeah, I found you fucking around with other guys. We're essentially done. So that's why I said I should have just cut it off then. But after the when I found out like, oh, she's over old boy's place right now, I'm like, yeah, fuck this, we're done. That's when I actually had actual proof that she was actually out with those guys. Then I was like, yeah, we're fucking done. So, but she tried to make it seem like the reason why she did it the second and third time was because I was, you know, flirting and whatever. Well, now mind you, I had this in writing that I had the right to do that, but I didn't exercise it until after the second time, and that's why I put that in there is because she tried to claim the second time I had caught her, it was because she had saw my text messages, but the thing was those text messages didn't occur until after the second time I had caught her. So that's why that matters. Oh boy, I went along. This one lasted quite a bit. There could be a lot more here. I might leak this into the next one, but I'm actually going to end it there. So thanks for listening, and I'm going to back out of this one.